All right, boys and girls, we have another State of the Union of the consumer, and I'm sorry to say, not good news. First half of 2025 looking pretty, I wouldn't say grim. I'm trying to find the right languaging for it, but clearly consumers are pulling back. So, if at the macro data, University of Michigan consumer sentiment's down to 57.9%. That's down 3 months in a row. So, people are not super confident about the future. When the Bureau of Labor Statistics looks at two couple of metrics, one is personal consumption expenditure, how much people are spending. That actually went negative, minus 0.2 month over month, and it was just positive for a number of months in the past. And that savings has almost doubled. The disposable, personal income, the amount that people have has gone up, and the amount that they're spending has gone down dramatically, even getting to the negative level. When you kind of take a step back and you're trying to figure out like what's going to happen going forward, that what I do think is clearly happening is you're seeing one of three ripple effects from Doge. So Elon and Trump and everybody, they're getting fit at the government level. They're going through, and there's a lot to be said about how they're doing it, how they're communicating it. But the majority of Americans all agree that fraud and waste are bad things, and we should get it out of the government. And so I have no doubt that it's going to happen because you're seeing it across the board. I think the Challenger report for the headhunter firm, 222,000 job losses already announced for year to date, and that's the highest since 2009. So I think we're just getting started. So three ripple effects that we see, and it's going to impact companies, consumers, and workers. And so we want to talk about all three dynamics. One is companies that are, and categories, frankly, that are heavily reliant on government for revenue. And some of these numbers are shocking, and maybe they shouldn't be. You obviously have defense contractors who have Lockheed Martin, all of those guys that have $8 billion worth of government contracts. So that kind of makes sense, although that's probably going to be an issue. Consultants, so Booz Allen Hamilton, back in the day, one of the OGs of management consulting, and they split up into a business strategy side and the government side. And those guys have, I was kind of shocked, $8 billion of government contracts. And Chris, forget this, 77% of their total revenue comes from the government. So if you are one of these companies and you just gotta, probably the second trope of government job was one of the easiest, best things to get, having a government contract, probably second up there. You gotta be watching your back, because if your business is heavily reliant on government revenue, it's not going to last. And the second thing that I would kind of lay out is that there's our companies, they don't have the majority of the revenue exposed to government, but make no mistake, I bet you a bunch of the Mag 7 are exposed in a way that is not going to be existential for them, but will be meaningful from a guidance perspective. Oracle, I think, has about $900 million of government contracts, not a big percentage of the revenue, but a meaningful one. Microsoft has 400 million. It's not all going away, but if I were the CFO of one of these companies, I might say, let's assume that number is going to go down, and I might pull down guidance and spend a little bit less. And you're seeing that, across the board. I think all the airlines are calling down their guidance to cut their guidance for Q1 profits by 50%, using government travel as a reason for that. United's down 27-29% stock year to date. And then even like Southwest, which I didn't really think about this, but like you're just seeing the ripple effects of, they have caved on one of the most sacred cows that they're known for. Bags fly free. You are now free to move about the country, which is some of the greatest marketing that they ever could have done. And what they've done is left Costco holding the bag as the last bastion against inflation. If the $1.50 hot dog will remain the $1.50 hot dog for the foreseeable future. And then the third thing that we're going to see, so companies and categories heavily reliant on government contracts going to suffer and will contract. Companies that have some exposure will be more conservative. Third thing that we've seen, and this is a study, Christopher, I think you shared from Bain, is that roughly 10% of companies get more aggressive in a downturn. And you're seeing that now, right? Is that a lot of automakers are cutting workers and layoffs. Tesla is investing in a new plant in Texas. They're launching robotaxis in June. They're launching new models. Like, it is all, guns ahead. Elon went out there and is like going to double the US manufacturing production. You got Warby Parker introducing, they're spending on AI, not just for large language models, but like, hey, You want to try these glasses on without coming into the store? Do this AI thing, which is, super cool. My wife just converted to a Warby Parker consumer. Their stock is up 76% year over year. And then Chewy doing the same thing. They're investing in very practical applications of technology and AI. So veterinarian telehealth, Christopher, if Bean has an issue, you could bring Bean in, or maybe you just Zoom him because he clearly likes the camera and the mic anyway.
Well, and Bean is also a Chewy super consumer, just for the record.
Wow, that explains that, because their stock is up 80% year over year too.
Yeah, well, that's probably just based on the fact that he's a 20-pound half Maine Coon who eats like a horse. He also shits like one too, but that's a whole other conversation.
We'll save that for the Dude Wipes podcast.
That's right.
So just a quick thing on that. Here's the aha, and I don't know that everybody's got this yet. Every company is an AI company. Every company is an AI company, not tech companies or AI companies. And here's the big mistake. If you look at the mistake some tech companies are making, they're treating AI like an add-on, like an adjunct, like a bolt-on. And you can tell based on the way they talk. They call it an assistant, a co-pilot. And so there's the real thing, and then there's the AI bolted onto the real thing. That's a big mistake. That is a big mistake. The AI is the technology. The AI is the business model. We've got to stop thinking about bolting on the tech and start thinking about making it core. And this happens with every single tech wave. I'm lucky enough and feel certainly blessed enough to have lived through and participated in the initial PC boom, the PC boom which led to the networking boom, which ultimately led to the internet itself, and client server before that, huge, coming off mainframes to client server to networking to the internet to the cloud to mobile, and now here we are at AI. And back in the day, legendary VC John Doerr used to hype up the internet, and he used to say it's underhyped. And he was criticized tremendously for saying this, just being a hype man for his investments. Well, it turns out, and I don't know exactly when John said that, but it would have been, in the late 90s. John was right. And here's the aha. A lot of people today are saying, oh, AI is overhyped. They're wrong. It's the same thing again. It's actually underhyped. And here's the big aha. AI needs to be at the center of what every company does. And the productivity gains and the growth opportunities, right now, for example, I'm working with a company who is using AI to discover whole new ways to grow the company. And, you think about our work, Eddie, in growth strategy, yours especially, in new category design and category creation. And there's so much what we love to call weird data that nobody ever sees, that nobody ever gets to. Well, now AI can go on a continuous, ongoing basis, looking for weird growth data, which leads to unpredictable growth opportunities in existing categories, as well as potentially new category ideas, as well as new category adjacencies. And so I think we're at the very, very beginning of AI, and there's a mistake that companies might make here, which is there's now fear of a recession. Goldman Sachs is saying 15 to 20%. And recently, JP Morgan came out and said they think now there's a 40% chance of a recession.
I'd take the over, personally.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, it's, I think very clearly, as the government spends less, everything is so interdependent that, I think the recession, I should know this, but negative growth, I think that's likely for a quarter, perhaps, depending upon how aggressively and quickly some of these Doge cuts happen. I think that the high frequency trading and some of the algos that go on know that it's just accelerated the speed of business. And that, we all know this, right, Kat and Christopher? Like, the companies, if you can see a recession coming, you have fat to cut, and the smart ones will do it fast and aggressively before they have to. And it's the dumb ones that will wait and hope they can whistle past the graveyards. I just think that the pendulum's going to swing the other way. There are people who have to, and the people who would like to, and they're going to take advantage of, well, everyone else is doing it. So I just think that's what's likely to happen in the first half of this year.
Well, and if you look at what they're shooting for, right? So I'm just double check. The federal government, if Grok is right, the budget is $7 trillion. So Doge just said that they want to try to get $2 trillion out. Some experts have said they won't be able to do that, but they'll be able to get $1 trillion out. So let's just say it's $1 trillion for sake of argument. That's massive dislocation in the economy in the near term. And it could very well, you tell me, Eddie, it could very well hurt GDP growth in the long term. Although right now I believe GDP growth is at about, so the forecast median growth of 2.1% for 2025. So that suggests that there's sufficient growth to avoid a recession. But when you take out $1 trillion of the $7 trillion of government spending, to your point on Booz Allen and the tech companies and so many other companies that supply the federal government.
Out of a 27, 28 trillion US GDP is about 3-4%, right? So I mean, it's like if we're expecting 2% growth and $1 trillion just from the government comes out, and then you have related, like it's hard. This all depends on, do you rip the Band-Aid off or slowly and painfully do it the like? And I mean, if I were in office, I would rip it off now so that you actually get the effects of it before the midterm. So like the incentives would seem to say, do it now, do it hard, and do it aggressively. But who knows? That then again,
well, and also the case for that,
outcome.
Of course, is the deficit and the debt, right? And so when we're at a point where servicing the debt is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Eddie, roughly equivalent to that of the military budget.
Yeah.
That's what I've read recently.
Yeah. It's more
Given
so.
that, is that what you understand
It's
as
higher.
well?
Yeah.
It's higher.
Yeah.
So the point is, if we don't stop fucking spending, there'll be no more America, right? So we the sooner we can get rid of the stupidities, the better. Of course, maybe we don't want to have it.
You know what the X factor is in all this? And I think you said it, is the AI is not just an add-on, but is everything. And the patterns that I'm seeing is the first wave of AI has been AI for digital innovation. I think the bigger one is AI for physical innovation, physical category innovation. And I think, the robo-taxi is a physical innovation. Obviously it's digital, but it's a physical category that's being reinvented. Warby Parker, it's a physical good that you're getting. And you know what? There are super consumers with like 18 pairs of prescription glasses that are stylish and whatever else. And yeah, there's Kat with it. And so
I have 6 pairs, and the reason I do is because I lose them all the time. And last time I bought 3 or 4 pairs, and I lost those really fast. So this time when I updated my prescription, I bought 6 pairs.
I have 4 because I need computer glasses and regular glasses, and the new ones I got don't work, and I go back to my old side anyway. It's like, so what we just highlighted here, glasses. The 3 of us wear them. They are an immensely expandable category. It is a physical good. It is one of the main drivers of optometry and ophthalmology revenue that's important. And Warby Parker is going to be like, I'll take it all. Thank you very much, please. Because if I can try on an infinite number through AI, and AI can suggest, hey, Eddie, have you thought about a red pair of Ferrari red glasses? Or I'm like, no, I would never have considered that. And then Kat says, you might want, whatever.
That would match your blue minivan well.
It would match the,
Yeah.
I should pick you guys up the next time in that. But and then Chewy is another physical one. You know what I would like, AI innovation for a physical thing, is for Kat to tell us that she has an AI that's measuring the weather and the wind speed when she goes flying, so we don't get as worried as when she does it and the like. But is that coming, Kat?
I'm sure somebody's already doing it. I haven't heard of it yet, but I would love that.
So there's an interesting insight from the past that I think we can take here. If you go back and look at the creation of the movie camera. Well, when the movie camera was first existed, what did people do with it? Well, they videotaped a play. So what is, if you think about what does videotape a play mean? They take the existing category, the existing lens, the way that it is, the status quo, and they bolt on the technology. Then, after a little bit of time, somebody goes, what if we actually took advantage of the technology and created plays for the camera instead of putting the camera in front of a play? And a play for the camera is a new category of entertainment called filmed entertainment, which leads to movies and television. So why do I share that with you? I think it's pretty clear for the most part, not always true right now. But for the most part now, we're still in very much the video, the play mode with AI. That is to say, we're applying AI to speed up, to improve the current ways of doing things, which is very cool. We're getting great gains from that. However, I think we're just at the very beginning of trying to figure out what is the equivalent in category after category, in business domain, in lifestyle domain, in play categories, in health categories, you name it. Every aspect of the way we live, work, and play is going to go through a transition where we move from videotaping the play to imagining a different future because of the technology. And that's why this idea of bolting on the AI, that's videotaping the play. When we begin to now en masse start thinking about, what does this technology actually create? So if I look at my world, software, there's two kinds of companies right now. They're the bolt-on AI companies, and then they're the startups and or the new applications and capabilities being created from the ground up with AI at the core. And there's a simple way to think about it. If all you do is take a search question that you have and plug it into Google, and then take that exact same question and plug it into ChatGPT, Grok, Perplexity, etc., you see the difference. But then once you start playing with prompts as opposed to searches, right? Because a prompt is an interactive conversation. Well, all of a sudden, the new possibilities of the different future that is enabled by AI start to get clearer and clearer when you realize you can have this ongoing back and forth, and you're not just moving from search to answer, you're moving from answer to investigation, to creation, to innovation. And so as we move further along that spectrum, I think we move from videotaping the play with AI to actually creating whole new categories of the way we live, work, and play. And I think we're barely in the first inning of that. And just to tie it all off, I think as we move through that cycle into full-blown new AI categories, the economic opportunity for growth is exponential. And so it's a battle that the United States must win.
Right. I mean, I think it's the TAM, as it were. There's kind of three. If videotaping the play is one, and then you said the second wave is movies directly for the camera, and then maybe animation is the third wave where you don't even need the camera. It's just kind of unleashed. I see it the same way of if you just kind of a first principles look at what humans are and what we do and how we spend our time, is that, call it roughly a third of our time is working, 8 hours of a 24-hour day. A third of our time is sleeping, and a third of the time is going to be leisure, which can be a jump ball between the digital and physical world. I think as work, not for all workers, but increasingly work becomes more digital, then what you're talking about, what OpenAI has done, Perplexity and Grok, like that's a large part kind of in that B2B work context of how do I optimize productivity. The one that is being slept on is sleep, is like AI for sleep. We're joking about like, it'd be nice we could just have a one click of the app for our camera lighting setup when we're using it for that. AI for sleep, it hasn't really gotten started yet. I think you can see sleep and the like temperature controlled, all the things that are optimizing sleep, I think have extraordinary value. And then the third chunk of how we spend our time, a lot of it is watching Netflix. Hopefully more of it is getting out there and seeing the sunset versus taking a picture of it and putting it on Instagram, as you said, Christopher. But I think the real battle, I suspect, is going to be, as you said, when AI is no longer an add-on, is when people are reimagining categories in each of those three chunks of the day to be, right now AI is the solution, but until the AI category falls in love with the various problems of like insomnia, how do I solve insomnia? We're dudes in our 50s, how do we sleep without having to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and the like, right? Like there's lots of things that AI can help us solve. Don't have that extra glass of whatever.
Can AI stop Bean from waking me up every night at 3 a.m. for a 3 a.m. snack?
I bet you
an AI robot just plays with Bean all night.
If Chewy was smart, they would give you an AI robot designed to wake up between 3 to 6 a.m. so you could sleep. Absolutely.
So look, here's some things we know about recessions through studying the research. You said it earlier, but I want to underscore it. Most companies react too slowly. And so they don't get realigned early enough in the cycle. And they don't react to putting on a growth posture quickly enough. So they're too late on the front end with cutting, and they're too late on the back end with investing. And it's classic. It happens all the time. It's human nature. We're lemmings. We're herd animals. So here's an idea. Forget the politics of it, whether you like it or hate it or somewhere in between. What Doge is showing all of us is whether it's our own households or whether you're the CEO of an S&P 500 or a startup or a small business or everything in between, the likelihood there is waste in our spending is almost certain, right? And the likelihood there is mistakes being made and potentially malfeasance, depending how big you want to go, or maybe your child is sneaking things that they're not supposed to, or whatever it is. The point being, it would be hard to believe that any household, any small business, or any major corporation doesn't have at least 10% of stupidity, redundancy, waste, inefficiency. The simple one we have in our personal lives it's always good to go through all of your damn subscriptions every year and see what you...
I'll protect the innocent here, but there was an unnamed member of my family who I had to confront about, because we got our Apple, they send the iTunes bill. I'm like, who in the world spent $99 on this one casual game? And then everyone denied it. Like, not me. And then eventually the person was like, well, what? I just playing the game and it said I want an extra life, and why wouldn't I want it? And I'm like, they charge you $1 every time for that. And I don't know what bucket that falls into, but that was one I caught on quickly.
Now, and we have the tech to do it. We can use part of how Doge is doing this, of course, is with AI, right? And so we can Doge ourselves. And I think anybody at a personal level, all the way up to an S&P 500 CEO, CFO, anybody who's not Doging themselves right now, and I know this may sound harsh and mean, but it's fucking stupid. It's time for all of us to Doge up, right? So that's a smart thing to do, no matter recession or not. The other thing is, if you Doge yourself now, it positions you in the now term to reinvest in growth strategies, new category design, new AI growth, looking for weird data, focusing on super consumers to drive WOM and breakthroughs in growth with existing products and categories. So now's a good time to be Doging, and we can be beginning to sharpen the saw. If we continue to Doge and then we open the aperture of our thinking and we say, how do we not just get efficient, government efficiency being the Doge name, to how do we then have a breakthrough in innovation and growth? So I think there's a clear path here for people who want to be wise about how to deal with the current uncertainty, which is Doge up yourself, use your savings, use your productivity insights, et cetera, use the benefits of taking a ruthless compassion, technology-enabled approach to whacking any stupidity in your pay for the party costs, whether they're your house or your multi-million-dollar corporate or multi-billion-dollar corporation. And then tweak on the margins to drive near-term growth. And some of those tweaks can be very meaningful. And position yourself so that either if the recession doesn't occur, you've got dry powder. And if it does occur, you're ready to jam the throttle ahead of everyone else. So you Doge yourself early in the cycle, the economic cycle, and then you hit the growth throttle early in the recovery cycle. That's, I think, what there is to be paying very close attention to right now, whether it's personally or in your corporate world.